Here at OWL, we take a massive amount of pride in our weld. Why? Because we don't just hire any welder. We hire the best welders in the world. That's right. In fact, many of our welders, we used to fight with Tesla over them. Aluminum is incredibly difficult to weld. So there's lots of kinds of welds, but the main ones that I want to talk about today are MIG welding, TIG welding, and spool welding. When it comes to welding steel, it's almost always MIG. This is a MIG gun. So what you've got is you've got this, it's called a cup, and around this, you have to create an inert atmosphere around the weld. And so this is argon, and that argon will flow out of the tank, come out, and this cup keeps the argon around this tip, which when you pull the trigger, wire would come out. So what you've got on a MIG welder is basically one gun, and it does everything. And I don't want to say it's easy, but if you walked into this shop today, I could have you, in fact, I had my 9-year-old son welding a project for school after about an hour of training. So you can absolutely weld things, especially steel with a MIG, with minimal training. It will hold, it will probably be strong, but it won't be pretty. It will take a little bit of practice, maybe a year of welding a lot to get to the point where your welds start to look like this. And I encourage you to start looking at places like amusement parks, ski lifts. Look at the welds on those items. What you want to see in a good weld, and I can show you on this one down here, is that it lays down real flat. You see how this one sits on the corner? You have what's called stacking dimes, so you see basically the contours of each part of the weld as it goes. There's no starts and stops, but you see how this part's raised? That's because the metal wasn't hot enough. When you start a weld, it's going to be a little bit proud of the surface, and that's because the material is not hot enough to let the molten metal really soak in, let the weld soak in. And so whenever you start a weld, you're always going to have a cold part of metal. And then as you travel, the metal heats up and the weld really gets in there, and that's what makes it strong. You want the weld to mix with the steel. So now let's talk about TIG welding. The best analogy I have for TIG welding is if you've ever been to like New York City or even down like Pier 39 in San Francisco and you see these buskers. These are these musicians that are sitting on a bucket. They've got maybe a foot-operated drum of some kind. They've got a harmonica around their neck, a guitar, and they're singing. So they're singing, playing the harmonica, playing the guitar, playing the drum. That's essentially what happens when you are a TIG welder or an aluminum TIG welder. Aluminum is a unique metal. It's very soft. It has a low melting temperature. It also gets this oxidation layer on it. And the thing about the oxidation layer is you can't weld if the oxidation layer is there. So the oxidation layer has to be burnt off before you can weld the material. The problem with that is that the oxidation layer of aluminum is at a higher melting point than the actual melting point of the aluminum. So that means that you have to burn off the outer layer of oxidation, but not vaporize the aluminum underneath. It's very, very difficult, and it takes a lot of practice. And this is why I was likening this to playing a musical instrument. So on the ground, the best way to describe this is like your throttle in a car. This is going to be your amperage. All the way down is full amperage. And so constantly, while someone is welding, they're going to be modulating this. So on startup, they're going to be high, burning off that oxidation layer, but then they've got to quickly back off the power, because if you burn through that oxidation layer, if you don't back off the power right away, you'll burn through the aluminum. So it's that delicate dance. Additionally, aluminum does not change color when you heat it up. On the steel parts that we had, you'll see this kind of bluing or purpling around the weld. You don't see that with aluminum. Because aluminum doesn't change color, there's very little indication of when it's actually hot enough to weld. It's this very subtle art form that takes years and years of practice to get right. This is a TIG torch, and a TIG torch has a tungsten tip, and the distance that you hold it to the metal is critical. If you touch the metal, you've destroyed your weld, and probably the tip. If you're too far away, it won't work. And so now you've got two things involved. You've got your torch, you've got your tip distance that you're managing, you've got your throttle, And then you've got your filler rod. And if anyone's ever watched someone that gets really good at the saxophone, and I know I'm making a lot of musical analogies here, you've maybe heard of reciprocal breathing. Basically, they learn how to breathe in through the nose at the same time they breathe out through their mouth. Very similar with welding. You have to constantly be feeding the wire without stopping, because anytime you stop a weld and start a weld, it's going to look like junk. You're also going to get that starting spot that's a little bit cooler, and it's going to be a spot where you could introduce possibly some failure in the future. So now we've got the throttle, the TIG torch, and the feeder wire. And then I mentioned not being able to stop. So now what you've got to do is orient your product that you're welding. You've got to get your torch in there, and oftentimes you have to get creative. So you'll get in there, and then you'll have your feeder wire. And now if I were to start this weld with my hands here, I would get caught. So many times what people will do, what welders will do, is they'll make a fake pass at the weld. It's like a practice run. So they'll make sure that they can orient their torch and continue all the way around the weld without stopping. Because again, you can't stop once you start. So if you start here, you're going to get to about here and you can't keep welding. So orienting the product's really important. And then you have the constant feeding of the wire. And if the wire feed rate changes, you get uneven dimes, if you will. And so you'll see people that are new to welding, they will not have this consistency of these layers as you weld. It's something that's incredibly hard to get to. So now, to summarize, we talked about it. We got our throttle on the floor, our TIG torch. We can't stop. We've got to have a constant flow of the wire. And then you're doing all this while you're looking through this. I don't know how well you can see this, but you can't see. And so imagine putting on dark sunglasses, going into a room with all the lights off, and until you start welding, you can't see what you're doing. And so you literally have to position yourself. You have to get set up, and then you'll see a lot of welders do it. They'll go flick like this, and the mask will flip down because they can't move their hands. And you have to make sure that you have everything set. You flick your helmet down and start welding, and you have to make sure nothing's moved. So those are just some of the things that go into what makes a good TIG welder world class. And anyone that knows about welding understands that welds like this, and this isn't even something that I hand-picked. I grabbed the first tire carrier off the line here. I can pick any one of these, and they all look this beautiful. The last kind of welding, and maybe we don't even want to talk about it, but it's called spool welding. So Owl TIG welds all of their products. You can weld aluminum another way. It's called a spool gun. And it's basically kind of like that MIG gun that I showed you earlier when we were talking about steel. But the problem is, it doesn't really work that well. You won't find any spool gun welded products at Owl. So if you want to find something spool gun welded, go look to some of those folks that bring their parts in from overseas or don't have the level of welder that we have. Hopefully, this little discussion of welding has shown you how difficult this is and why our products are not cheap to replicate. It's something that takes years of practice, artistic eye, and a massive amount of coordination to make something like this. And I'm tremendously proud of the team at Owl that does this every single day. And I think it's one of the most robust products in the industry.